Hello, everyone, and welcome to S.O.G.Q Security Podcast. My name is Kareem, and this is our first podcast episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of security. And today, we have a special guest with us, all the way from United Kingdom, Michael McQuaid, a security expert, both in cybersecurity and physical security. Um, he's the founder of Star Apex. He was a cyber and intelligence specialist for the UK's Ministry of Defense and a former representative for Microsoft and Amazon as a data security specialist. A data center security specialist. He's good at what he does, and we're going to bring him in right now. Welcome to the show, Michael. How you
Hello,
doing?
Kareem. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for joining us today.
No worries at all.
Yes. So what we're going to start with here, you have an interesting story as to how you know Apex came about, Star Apex, or how you came to formation. Can you tell us more about this story of yours? How you came into cybersecurity or security in general?
Of course. So it's quite a long-winded story, but I'm sure the viewers will appreciate to understand how I got from point A to point C. Everybody loves a good story. So it goes back to high school.
Mm,
When I was in high school, I was, how can I best say it, a problem child. I was had an attention problem. I just didn't have a great attention span, and I had behavioural issues, to say the least. Um, However, when I reflect back on that, I think there was a good reason why those two things happened. So what a lot of people don't know about me is I've got dyslexia. Now, when I
okay.
was in high school, and at that time period, dyslexia wasn't really accommodated, and it certainly wasn't accommodated as it is now. It's not regarded as acceptable to, let's say, you were kind of looked like as a child that had problems like learning difficulties and was stupid, etc., etc. Um, so I wasn't really supported in high school. So therefore, what happened was I just took it upon myself, and it's like, well, I hate high school. I don't want to do this. And then I got bored because I'm not able to learn properly because I'm getting bored. And then I started doing behavioural problems. I started, just being the class clown and started getting in all sorts of trouble.
Right.
Plus, I grew up in so in the UK we call it a council estate, and the UK and the US, in the US and Canada it'd be more like a suburban area. Uh, High crime, bad population with people who just got up to all sorts of stuff that they shouldn't get up to. I was a young teenage kid as well, so of a whole mixture of all that, it was a bad recipe for disaster.
Mm,
And going back to school, I would get report cards that would say Michael has all the potential in the world, dot dot dot, and then it was a list of reasons why I'm not hitting that potential. So I left school with basic qualifications, and I tried to apply for a job at KFC, and I got rejected, which was a low
really?
point in my life. I got rejected for a job at KFC.
Right.
Um, so again, I look back on that time period. It was like I had, I wouldn't say I had. Well, I had some people in my life that tried to guide me, but when you're in that environment, there's not many opportunities that come your way. You really have to fight for those opportunities, which we'll get onto later on. And I just thought, left school, get a job at fast food joint, get a job at KFC, and I got rejected. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? I need a job.
Right.
And this thought came in my head that it's like, I might go back to college. You know what I mean? I might try again. So I went to this induction day to find out more about it, and I said I've got dyslexia, and he says, well, this is in an adult environment. We have tutors here who specialise in people with dyslexia. We can help people with dyslexia. Not to worry. We'll help you for your tests, your exams, and your coursework." And I thought, okay, well this might work. Um, so I went and did my what we call in the UK the A levels. I'm not sure whether that would be classed on your side of the world. I think it's your GEDs. Is that what it's called?
The GED, the diploma.
Yeah, that's the one. Yes, equivalent to that. So I
Right.
did maths, English, history, and psychology. Sat the exams and got a B on all four of the exams,
Not
and
bad.
done really well. Done really well. Um, and then I thought maybe I could become a lawyer. Maybe I could just become a lawyer.
Yes, yes, I heard about that.
So I enrolled to study law. I did it for 2 years and I got a diploma out of it. But as I was doing law, some of the subjects were so dry. Like, see, contract law, it is drier than a sandal in the Sahara Desert. It was awful. I visualised myself, could I do this for the next 40 years? No. So I'm not going to continue doing it. So I dropped out. And now I'm in the same dilemma as after KFC. It's like, what am I going to do now? And I had, I've still got a good friend who joined the UK intelligence community, and the only reason I knew the person joined is because I had to be a reference. So when you go through security clearance, you have to have somebody who can give you a personal reference, like on your character and stuff like that. So I was down as that person's character reference. So that's how I got exposed to that world as such. And they said you should join. And I
This
thought,
was a friend.
yeah, this was a friend. Yeah, you
Mm,
should apply. And I
mm,
thought, no way. So my friend comes from an influential area, like has a wealthy family, went to university, got a degree in law, etc., etc. And then here's me, who's not got any of the above. So there's a bit of an imposter syndrome that was sinking in. I thought,
mm.
there's no way I could pass. There's no way I could get into that.
Right.
And my friend said, "Well, what have you got to lose?" And I thought, that's a good point. I've got nothing to lose. Why not? So I put an application in, and my application was successful. And then I was invited to an assessment centre. So when I attended the assessment centre, it was at an undisclosed building in the UK. It was a type of building that you could walk past, and you would have no idea what goes on in this building. It would look
Right.
like an accounting firm. You'd have no idea, and that's the whole point because you've got to be, discreet, and when you're doing that type of work, of course, right?
Absolutely.
So showed up at the building, and I had to do 8 hours of tests, one test after the other. There was literally no break in between, and
Eight
the test
hours.
8 hours of just straight tests,
No breaks.
no breaks. No, the tests were maths tests, English tests, um, problem solving test, team exercise, and an IQ test. And on the one of the English tests, you have to write an intelligence report. Now, of course, you've not had the training at this point how to write an intelligence report, but it's more you were given a topic a couple of days before the assessment centre, and I can't remember for the life of me what was my topic again. I remember now. It was um, what is the threat level to UK security from the west of Africa? So has the west of Africa has the threats in the west of Africa has that got a bearing on UK security? So you had to go away, do your whole research, but you didn't get to go in with the paper where you all your research. You had to
Right.
memorize it all.
Okay.
So you had to memorize everything, and then you had to
Mm.
go in and write your report based on memory, statistics, the whole lot. So it was very intense, very very intense.
So you
Um,
had to answer those questions. You're given time to do a little bit of research about West Africa on cybersecurity.
so I wasn't on cybersecurity specifically. It was just more the what what is the what is the threat to national security in the UK when it comes to the west of Africa? Because at that time there was a lot of uproar in the west of Africa. There was the security posture in West Africa was really unstable at that point. So the question was based on what's happening in the West of Africa. Does that impact the national security of the UK?
Right. Right. Right.
So you had to go away, do your research, and it was more when you had to do the essay. It was on a balanced argument. Like you had to give the pros, the cons, and then give a dissemination of what you thought. But it all had to be memorized. And that wasn't the first test you did of the day. That was halfway through the day. So you'd done all these tests before you get to that point. So it's really a memory game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another test that we had to do, which was an interesting one, is there was cards on the table, and you had to flip over a card, and it had a random topic on it. So it could be, again, example, just because I'm looking at it on my camera, it could be um, the Hulk, no, the couch Hulk. It could be the Hulk made out of a couch, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You had to discuss it for 2 minutes. Didn't matter what you said, you just had to discuss a couch made out of the Hulk for 2 minutes. And the idea behind that exercise is can you react under pressure? So you've
Right.
got people in front of you, and you've just got to talk about something for 2 minutes. Some of the some of the some of the topics were ridiculous. Like I remember
Mm.
one, it was uh, a glass octopus. So an octopus is made out of glass. You've got to talk about it for 2 minutes. It's just like, but it's
And
to
but you're
see how
not
you react.
prepared for this
No,
in
and
any
that's
way.
no, and that's the whole idea of intelligence. You'll never be prepared what's going to come your way. You've got to be able to react quickly. Um, but you've got to brief it for 2 minutes. So it's like just talk about a glass octopus for 2 minutes. Um, so did
Right.
all that,
Mm.
and then at the end of the day, we were waiting in a communal room, waiting for the results. My name gets called in, get called into the room, and the room was very dingy, very dirty. Wasn't a nice room, but I remember the seat being very comfortable. Like you could just sink into the seat. It was just lovely, right? It's like a sofa at
Mm-hmm.
home. You could just sink in it, but it was just really dirty. And the person opposite me is reviewing my test scores, and I remember he's looking down. He's looking at them. There's an element of silence as he's looking at it, and he just looks up at me and says, "Have you got dyslexia?" Now, in that moment, I froze, and I had internal thoughts where I thought, "What do I say here? Is this a test?" So I'm thinking, do I say yes and I
Right.
don't get in, or do I say no and I can get in, but then I have to lie about having dyslexia
Right.
my whole career?
Right.
And in a quick, rational decision, I just said, "I've got dyslexia, yeah." The person looked down at the papers again, looked back up at me, and said, "Do you know you got the highest test scores today out of everybody in everything except English?" And he said, "Your IQ is in the top 1% of the UK population."
Population. Ain't that something?
Population. So going back, if you think about when I was at high school, they
Right.
ripped me off.
You got yeah.
But here I am about to join one of
Yes.
the most prestigious organisations recognised in the world, and they're telling me that I'm one of the smartest people in the UK. Well, not one of the smartest people in the UK, but I'm in the top 1% of people in the UK when it comes to an IQ. And
Right.
the people I was competing against, what we call in the UK the posh kids, the rich kids,
Right.
they all went to the most prestigious universities. They went to Oxford, Cambridge, had multiple degrees. I was the only person there who didn't have a degree.
Yep.
So it just shows that
Yes.
even if you come from an unprivileged background, you haven't got the credentials, you can still be successful. Um, and to recap that story, the
Right.
person said to me, "You need to set additional tests because we need to monitor how bad your dyslexia is, and then we can make a judgment call on when the results come back." So I started additional tests, come back, it's fine, you can join. So here I am. I'm now walking into one of the most prestigious intelligence organizations in the world from a
Yes.
guy who failed school. Um,
No, sorry. Reading from your newsletter on the so this is you said the Kingsman. You want to tell us how uh, that came about? The Kingsman.
yes. So before I get to that point, there was a little bit in the middle there. When I joined the UK intelligence community, I was assigned a mentor who also had dyslexia. That person was able to coach me to be able to work in an intelligence environment and whilst having dyslexia. I'm in debt to that person. The person taught me how to skim read and extract information. I can now skim read and extract information twice as quick than somebody who hasn't been trained and doesn't have dyslexia. So I turned a weakness into a strength, and I was taught how to write intelligence reports at Oxford University dissertation level, which again I turned a weakness into a strength. I didn't shy away from my weaknesses. I leaned in, had the integrity to go, these are my weaknesses, now turn them into strengths. How the Kingsman came along. So I mentioned earlier, um, my colleagues all came from a very privileged background. They
Right.
went to the prestigious universities, etc.
Hmm.
So how the Kingsman came along was that was my nickname in the intelligence community. That was my nickname.
So they
So
gave you that
anybody
name. Hmm.
they gave me that name. There was no malice behind it. There was no bullying attached to it. What it is if you've ever watched the movie The Kingsman, if you haven't, watch it and you understand. You
Oh yeah,
look
I
at
know. Hmm. Absolutely. No, I get the whole point. So it was the poor, what do you call the students? They came from the rich family, or they had a PhD, they
the
had the
posh the
degrees.
posh the posh
Right,
kids, yeah. Yeah.
right, right,
So
right.
they gave me that nickname because of the film The Kingsman. So if you go through the storyline, it's very similar to my background. So they were just like, "You're called the Kingsman now," and it's like, okay, and that was it.
Nice. No, and I remember you running in the mentioning there in your story that you don't judge a book by its cover.
No.
That's the basic summary. And I also want to say that you don't validate intelligence based on academic reflections or displays. You know, it's really about the problem solving, just like you said. You know, 8 hours of test, no breaks. You have to put, you have to use your intelligence pretty much
Hmm.
to make things, to do the test and all and whatnot. Interesting story, very interesting story. So now, before we start, I just want to give a summary of what we're going to talk about today with security. We're going to discuss physical security and cybersecurity, including the size and trends of the physical security markets. We're also going to discuss what the public will be seeing or what will be witnessing and experiencing in the future with physical security and cybersecurity. We will conclude by talking about the role of cybersecurity, the current market size, and future projections in cybersecurity. So we're going to start with physical security. I just want to show a short video just to get things into perspective as to the industry and how it's actually where we're at now and the future projection of security in general. Just a quick video we're going to share with our viewers here. Just give me a second.
Let's uncover the future of security. From cyber threats to physical surveillance, the global security industry is on fire. In 2024, the market hit a whopping USD 377 billion. By 2034, we're looking at a jaw-dropping USD 763 billion. That's a compound annual growth rate of 7%. So, what's driving this surge? Technological advancements like AI and IoT are revolutionizing threat detection. Cybersecurity alone is set to skyrocket from USD 194 billion in 2024 to USD 563 billion by 2032. Regionally, North America leads with a 33% market share, thanks to heightened demand for advanced security solutions. Europe and Asia Pacific aren't far behind, driven by geopolitical tensions and increasing defense budgets. Visit our website, www.verifiedmarketresearch.com. Connect with us at inquiries@verifiedmarketresearch.com.
Okay, so that's just giving you an insight of what we're talking about when we're talking about security. Now, I think that was both, it said physical surveillance, also known as the physical security, and cybersecurity conjoined together. But we're going to dissect it. We're going to talk about physical security first, right? Now, this is a report from Fortune Business. Fortune Business website is a market research website, and it says that the global physical security market was valued at 151.52 billion in 2024, and is projected to grow to 289.88 billion by 2034, exhibiting a compound annual growth CAGR, compound annual growth rate of 6.7. And this growth is driven by rising adoption of the IP-based cameras and physical security solutions. So when we're talking about physical security, so this just gives you an idea of what future projections are. When I'm reading this, for us as a starter in this security industry, what does this mean for us, and what does this mean for the top tier security companies, especially for those of us that specialize in security guard services? My question is, does it make sense for us small companies to be targeting these clients or connect with the big security companies and tag along as subcontractors? I don't know if my question makes sense there. I mean, we look at these numbers. As a top tier company, the CEOs or decision makers will be asking themselves, well, I'm not going to say for them, but I would assume they're going to be overwhelmed with lots of projects. And we have small companies like us coming up. What do you think should be the best approach, or how do we forge ahead to make things happen for ourselves and to make the industry grow and have a good, good things going on?
Okay, so if I was to disseminate all that information you've just given me and then give a conclusion or an assessment to your question, so I'm going to tap into sort of my intelligence background when if somebody asks me that type of question, right? The first thing I'm going to ask is that report that was released. Is it a reliable source? So who released that report? Is it reliable? How have they gathered their stats and data? That's the second thing I'm going to ask. Because it's often easy to see a report and think it's verbatim. You just think that's the truth. You see a headline, you see statistics, and you rely on that information. Now, from working in an intelligence environment, there's so much fake news out there, there's so much fake reports. It's very difficult sometimes when you're doing your collecting intelligence, it's very difficult to say this is what's going to happen. You can only use something called the probability yardstick, which is a measurement that we use in intelligence to gauge on if something's going to happen or not. So you would use measurements like likely, highly likely, unlikely, highly unlikely to say if something's going to happen or not. So that's the first thing I'm going to say is that data accurate or is it not accurate? You would need to go away and do your own research. But let's just say on the basis that it's absolutely correct, it's bang on, there's nothing questionable about it. Would it be better for smaller companies to go their own direction or to combine with a larger company? Here's what I would say. The market is a large market. that revenue is a big revenue, is increasing. There's enough slice in the pie there for everybody. Now the question is, how big of that slice of pie do you want? Because if you've got a target, you might not be able to hit that target because there's not enough for everybody. So let's say, for example, your target is to become a $3 million turnover security company. I don't see that. I see that as being achievable. I think that's likely. It's likely that's achievable. But if you want to be a $103 million turnover security company, well, then now that's just become highly unlikely that's going to happen. Because all the big guys, they've got the contacts, they've got the infrastructure, they've got the systems, they've got the processes, they've got security officers at their disposal. They can go after that market. They can hit it hard. So it makes it very difficult for the small guys to compete. So I would say it manages on your expectations of where you want to be in the market.
What was that for the small companies?
So for the small companies, it depends on your expectations of what you're managing. Are
Right.
you happy to be a $3 million turnover company, or do you want to be a $103 million turnover company?
Okay. So you're saying, I mean, would you recommend for the small companies to connect in any way with the top tiers? Because, we have the general managers, we have the operations, security operations, these individuals, um, this is what I would assume, if you're in that position when you get overwhelmed with so many projects. And I do know security companies. We have companies like Garda in Canada. I think Garda is worldwide. Securitas, Commissioners. This is top tier physical security companies, and I believe that sometimes when they get overwhelmed, they do subcontract their projects to small companies. But the problem that I see, that I've noticed, is like you said, the the small companies, rather than, or let me just say, what they tend to do is to target directly these clients, and they give low rates, you know, uh, and I think this sometimes tend to make things uncomfortable, or it's not good for the industry itself, right? So, I mean,
Mm.
my question is, do you think, um, should the top tier companies, should they be aware of this as well? Is this something just for the industry itself, just to, because when you start giving low rates, when you start making services cheap, uh, you're not going to be expecting much of the expectations as a security personnel or security operations. It's not going to be the same as a solidified company. That's where I'm
So
coming from.
here's the thing, right? If you do the race to the bottom of the barrel when it comes to your race, the problem you have is you have to pay the officers or the supervisors or the managers, whatever rank they're in the security hierarchy. You've got to pay them low rates. This has a ripple effect. So you pay them low rates, they value themselves at that rate, and their output is going to be the same as the input. So you're going to pay them low, don't expect them to be gold standard, because they, in their mind, they say, I'm only worth $15 an hour, so you're going to get $15 an hour. So that's the problem you've got when you do the race to the bottom. If you pay people fairly, their value stock goes up, and it is likely that they're going to put more effort and responsibility to their job. Here's an uncomfortable truth, right? People think that, well, if I just hire somebody, they'll do their job and they'll do it well. That's not how the real world works, right? People have emotions, they have thoughts, they have feelings, right? If you pay somebody low, they're not going to do a good job. That's the uncomfortable truth. So, the security industry is ruthless, it's hyper competitive. Companies don't really get along with each other. There's almost this competitive edge, like you're this company, we're this company, we're not going to, collaborate together. However, you'd probably find that if there was a collaboration with several security companies, and let's say you got four security companies, small security companies, you bring them together and create one bigger company, then it's almost like it's going to become more successful than having one smaller company.
There you go.
And then because you've got a bigger company, you can pay higher rates, you can attract better clients, etc., etc. Because it's the same in cybersecurity as hyper competitive. Um, I've noticed that when it comes to cybersecurity companies who don't really get along with, oh, I wouldn't say they don't get along with each other. They kind of tolerate each other, but
Right.
it's still hyper competitive,
Mm.
and they are chasing after the same clients. So therefore, you're not truly friends. Whereas because for example, like in
Yeah.
cybersecurity, right? Cybersecurity, there's multiple different things you can do cybersecurity, right? And what you tend to find is one company specialises in one thing, another company specialises in another thing, and one company specialises in another thing. Same in physical security. One company specialises in one thing, another specialises in something else, etc. Within cybersecurity and physical security, if you brought what you specialise in all together and you bring cybersecurity and physical security together, guess what you're going to have? A mega product where you're offering everything that can be offered in the market, and you can offer your clients everything. Whatever the problem is, we've got the solution.
I mean, that's my point, and I think, I mean, that's I don't know what's I don't know if enough folks are talking about this topic, but I think it's something that we need to the industry, CEOs or whatnot, to actually maybe think about and see what are the possibilities of making having a solid. I mean, security is not. I mean, it's a business on one hand, but on the other hand, you want to have that sense of from your clients that this is strong collaborations of skilled or experienced professionals that are working together. I think it gives the clients a more of a I don't know, some sense of trust. That's, hey, they got what they know what they're doing. You know, rather than having all this, yeah, there's going to be competition, but at the same time, again, some kind of something that fits, something that works, just the industry itself. And my point, what I'm trying to emphasize more on, it's encouraging this small or us small companies to not present or, our company or our security as something of a some like a child's play. When you're offering cheap rates and whatnot, it's not good for your business. It's not good for the industry. But
No.
we start something, and it's if it's not working out, people do anything by any means necessary to just get one, just that one contract. Because I know what I went through as a starter. So you get that urge sometimes, or tempted, or to do things that you really should not be doing, but there's a reason for that. So I think that gap, the big companies should actually be bringing closer the small companies, as long as they're reliable. They do some they do the job work right and whatnot. So that's my point. You know,
Well, I'll give you an example, right? Where are you based about?
I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Okay, so you're on the east coast of Canada, then, right?
South, southeast, yeah, or
Yeah, yeah.
south. Hmm.
Okay. So let's say you want to provide security for a client, right? And they've got multiple sites all across Canada, the north, east, south, and west, right? If you went to them and said, "Hey, I'd like to do your security for you. We're based in Toronto," and they said, "Yeah, I would love to sign this contract. However, we've got buildings in the west of Canada. How do you, as the business owner, supply and demand in the west of Canada? You can't do that. That's going to be, well. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but that project has now become a mammoth task that you perhaps are not equipped to tackle.
Hmm.
However, if you started a security company with three other people. One's based in the north, one's based in the east, one's based in the south, and one's based in the west. You bring it as one big company. You specialize in your territory areas. When you get a client who says, I need security manning at the west of Canada, you can go, excellent, we cover the west of Canada, we can help you out.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then whatever you specialize in security, so if you specialize in security guards for, let's say, the banking industry, well, banks have got several locations all across Canada. They might need security guards for the banks, but what they might also need is VIP protection. They might also need armed security. They might need security awareness training for their staff. Now, all of a sudden, all you can do is offer security officers, and that's it. Whereas if you partnered with those other three and their background is more equipped to something else, you find that all between the four of you can cover the whole territory of Canada. You all complement each other with your backgrounds, and you have a more complete package for your clients.
Right. Right. Yes. Are you saying is that something possible to do, or are you saying that's the way it should be?
Both,
Hmm.
both. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, both. I mean, you look at America as well, for example, right? The US. It's such a massive area that there is no way a small physical security company, let's say you're based in New York, there is absolutely no way you could set up your physical security posture in LA from New York. You need to be based in LA. But you might have a client who's like, I'm going to pay you top dollar, but I need you to do it in LA. You go, I can't, I'm doing it in New York.
Hmm.
So if you try and go to the market as an individual, you're going to come across these hurdles, these problems. Whereas
Hmm.
if more people come together,
There you go. There
there
you
you
go.
go.
There you go. Got you. All right. So that's the first topic that I wanted to highlight. The second one, we're still under physical security. Now, what the public will be seeing and display with physical security. Now, I understand what you said there about uh, stats and information you get on website and whatnot. So I actually did a couple research, and I realized the numbers are different when it comes to the projections of physical security, both physical and cybersecurity. But I picked the ones that had most close. The numbers are close or kind of similar. I kind of rationalize uh, uh, the numbers there. But again, the point is, at the end of the day, you have an idea what we're talking about when it comes to the future of security projections, right? That's what I
Hmm.
was really trying to highlight because we're talking about the future of security. Now, this is another report from Fortune Business as a market research website. Again, there are lots of this marketing research website, but I picked Fortune. Uh, what is it called again?
500?
It's called Fortune. It's called Fortune Business website. They give reports and stats on future of big corporations, and security is one of them. So this is for another report from their website, and it says in the future the public will likely encounter more biometric access systems, smarter lighting, and AI-powered surveillance in public spaces.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
will also see a rise in mobile access control and touchless technologies, making security more convenient and integrated into daily life. Right. So this is what the future, what people are going to be seeing in security, physical security specifically. I think that's a very useful tool. This new IP based cameras, I think, is a very useful uh, for security operations. I think it makes a difference. So just adding to that, I think what we're going to be seeing in the future is a proactive approach to potential risk and suspicious criminal activity. What do you say? What do you think? And
I'm glad you brought up AI because it's very disruptive, as everybody's should be acutely aware of. It's very disruptive.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. I've got a contact in New York who has their own, we'll call it AI security company, and what they offer is they've got a SOC and a PSOC. Okay, it's accommodated with disabled veterans in the SOC and the PSOC. So it's in a remote location, and what they're able to do is offer their clients' premises security without any person being in that building. Like there's no physical person in that
Really?
building.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've got AI cameras that recognizes license plates and it stores it in the database. So anybody coming around the building, it picks up the license plate and it goes into into a storage folder. Any person that comes in the building, their face is recognized, and it again is stored in the database. So it gets stored in the
Okay.
cloud.
Hmm.
But what it also does is it rates the vision of that person's face. So between 1 and 5, how clear is that person's face? And then it starts doing it all in the background. It puts people in different places. But it also has the biometrics as well. So AI is able to remotely open and close doors for people who pass the stress test. So if your face is registered on the database for that building in that area, you can scan if your card works and go straight in. So no physical security needs to be in this building, but it's still monitored from a SOC and a PSOC to make sure that everything's still running smoothly. So from the SOC and the PSOC, they can lock buildings down. They can, um, you know, say there's an access denied comes up and it needs to be investigated. They can investigate at what's happened there if that person's got the credential to be in that area. So they're creating a disruptive business where you don't need security officers at your site. You don't need the physical person there. AI can do it for you. So I project, based on those stats that you've just said there,
Hmm.
by
There you
that
go.
time period, I think it will be. Let me get the probability yardstick there. It is likely that physical security will be AI.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't want to say 100%, but that's definitely that's what we're seeing. That was
I'm
it.
giving it a 50 to 70% chance. I'm going with likely. 50 to 70% chance. It
Hmm.
is likely by 2034 security
Hmm.
will be AI. Because as like I said, I've got contacts that are already doing it right now in New York. So
That's a very interesting. When you think about it, like, what are the chances? Are you saying there will not be? I mean, I don't. The way I would say it is, yes, it's going to be it's going to be AI powered, but there has to be some kind of, it's going to reduce the numbers of physical guards or physical persons,
mhm,
but
yep.
there's no way you can erase or have no form of physical presence in all this aspects of security operations, physical security operations. What do you think?
So what I think is going to be interesting is to see if the government is going to go down this route. I think I think it's highly unlikely the government will. So government buildings, military barracks, airports, etc.
Hmm.
It is highly unlikely that they will follow suit and have AI as their security posture. But for the private
Mm.
sector, it's a different
Right.
ballgame. Those guys, because the government's based on taxes, like
True.
people are paying
That's
for it.
true.
So it's like that's how they're getting the revenue. The private industry is a lot differently. Private companies are based on money they get from their clients, right? So if a private company can cut a cost, they will cut a cost. Believe me, they will cut a cost, right? As I mean, you look at a lot, and I mean a lot of companies' security posture, right? I'm talking physical security, cyber security, or threat intelligence, whatever one you want to pick. Their security posture is poor right now. Like if they were cyber attacked, they would have no idea what to do next. If some crazy
Mm,
guy came into their building with a machete, taking hostages, they would have no idea what to do, right? So therefore,
mm,
they the way I look at it is they don't actually really care about security at the moment. So why are they going to care about security in 10 years' time? Especially when they can cut the cost, they can get a solution that's AI, and it'll be cheaper. Plus AI, you don't have to give it salaries, you don't have to give it holiday pay, you don't have to, deal with HR issues. So therefore, I think that's where it's going to go.
right, right. Now, did you say that the private sector are gonna they're gonna embrace AI, or is the government that's gonna embrace the AI? Or
So I think the private sector will embrace AI. The government, I think it's highly unlikely that they will. I think there still will be that physical security posture when
presence?
it comes to when it comes to the government. I mean, could you imagine, for example, AI was the physical security posture at the White House? Like, imagine that world. That just doesn't seem. Here's the thing.
Hmm.
My opinion and your opinion is subjective, right? We're just speculating based on the data we've got at the moment. But in 2030, that data could be completely irrelevant and it's new data. And in 2034, whole behold, we'll be having a conversation. You go, do you remember when we did that podcast? And I said there would be no AI at the White House. Then in 2034,
And
the,
we
the
see it.
president of America has got AI as security. You don't know what's going to happen, do you?
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. You're very interested. I mean, very interested. And this is what I think when because I talk to colleagues in the security industry, and somehow, and I think sometimes when they're talking about the future of physical security, it's as if the physical aspect is gonna be wiped out, and what they say with such uh, I mean, they don't look happy or sound happy when they say that. But I don't think that should be a problem. I think it's just a matter of you as the industry to adjust to that shift and say, okay, so it's not about individuals anymore. It's AI.
Yep.
So it's a matter of you, okay, saying, okay, what are the products out there? What's out there for you? The security industry is changing, it's shifting. You have to shift with it. That's what I see there. That's what I think people should be looking at. But you're very correct. Either the government or the privates, I think, whatever is going to reduce costs and whatnot. It sounds like the private sector will take that because it's a business. But for the government, yes, they will probably still stick to the physical presence. Okay,
I mean,
so that.
if you
Mhm.
think about it, really, right? Physical security with physical people there, right, is the industrial age thinking, right? That's the industrial age. We're now in the digital age, okay? So, what's going to happen in a year's time? A lot of us haven't visualized it's going to happen, but somebody somewhere in the world has thought of something and gone, I'm going to do that. So, the digital age is so unpredictable that
Mhm.
if I was setting up a security company, more physical security now this year, I would be going heavy on the AI side of things. Like, what can I offer my clients that would what can I offer my clients that would give them the same level of protection for a fraction of the cost? Because let's break it down. Let's at an uncomfortable truth. Your clients want things at the cheapest price. So
Oh yeah.
what can you offer them that's at the cheapest cost? And AI, if you can come up with a security product like that one I talked about in New York, if you can deploy something like that, you will be ahead of the curve of those who are still staying in the industrial age and they don't want to move forward.
I think so too, but I think it comes with a challenge. And I say this because I remember you in the other podcast you had with one of the I can't remember the name, but it was about security. And you said it's a matter of educating. I think that's another effort because they're now you're just switching from physical. You're trying to tell them that you're kind of trying to convince them that AI is what you need. you know, I mean, it's low cost and whatnot, but you at the same time you gotta educate them. I think that's another challenge, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm I am the front runner when it comes to education. I love educating people. Throughout my career, I had opportunities where I got to educate people, and I loved it. I really love it, and that's why on my LinkedIn I've started my own newsletter, and I've been creating educational content about intelligence and cybersecurity. All the knowledge that's in my head, I'm just putting in my newsletter for the next generation or anybody
Hmm.
who's perhaps my age and wants a career change. They can read that content completely free and go, "That's what I want to do."
Which also
Education, education is
education,
vital.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I think we're going to talk more about this in cybersecurity. The government. Do you think government? Because most of the time when you if I'm running the business, if it's not mandatory for me to have security, I would probably if it's just until something happens. That's
Mm.
when business owners say, you know what, maybe I should have a security or maybe I should have cybersecurity. But do you think if the government has a role to play when it comes to mandate, apart from insurance or liability, if the government makes that mandatory for you to have security
Hmm.
for whatever reasons, do you? I mean, you think it would be less work for security providers uh, to render the services without much of explanatory or education? Who
So
should we be educating? The government or this business owners?
your question has been well timed for the UK specifically here. So the UK government and the Parliament has passed the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill. Now, that was passed, I believe, February this year, and it's hope there's not been a target date for when it's going to come into fruition. However, based on the evidence that I've seen and the data points and etc., I think it's likely it's going to happen in October. I might be completely wrong, but I'm thinking October is going to start. Now, what the Cybersecurity Resilience Bill is, there's a list of specific industries. So, for example, MSPs, data centers, critical infrastructure, and what's the other one? I can't remember what the fourth one is. But effectively, all these industries have to be cybersecurity compliant, and any breaches that they have, they've got to be reported within 72 hours, right? If they fail to do that, they will be hit with £100,000 fine a day or 10% turnover of their company as a fine for not being compliant. So the government stepped in and said, now I'm speaking from a government, well, an ex-government employee, right? I did the cybersecurity for the government, I did the physical security for the government, etc., right? People like me and the team that I work with worked around the clock, worked very hard to protect the national security of our countries, right? However, you've got businesses and companies in these countries who don't take security very seriously, and they let down the security for the country by just being, what's a better word to use, being relaxed towards security. They have the attitude, I'm too small, it'll not happen to me. You know, there's certain mentalities that happen, especially in the West, where it's just an excuse for poor security posture and I don't need to react to it. So the government have went, no, no, we're not having this. Like these industries, you're going to clean up your act when it comes to cybersecurity, or we're going to hit you a £100,000 fine. So you better react very quickly.
There you go.
So
This is
I
a bill you
think,
said.
yeah, the cybersecurity resilience bill that was introduced in Parliament this year in the UK.
Okay. Okay.
So again, I think governments around the world need to start stepping in and doing things like these because it doesn't matter what country it is around the world, there'll be people that will like me who are protecting the national security of their country, doing all the best they can, and then you have companies in those countries who are just don't care. Like, don't I'm not going to take security seriously. But then again, I do think it also comes down to education. I'll give you a stat actually, right? 70% of business leaders and employees think that cybersecurity is IT.
Hmm.
Cybersecurity is not IT, they're two completely different disciplines. So even from that basis,
Yeah.
7 out of 10 people you speak to thinks that cybersecurity is IT.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that was the spark
Hmm.
of why I started my newsletter on my LinkedIn profile, was because I thought 7 out of 10 people think cybersecurity is IT. Like,
Right.
I just assumed people, I just assumed people knew it wasn't, but that's my
Right.
assumption. It makes an ass out of me and you here, right? So
Right.
that's what I
Right.
created this newsletter to educate
Yeah.
people completely
Education.
free.
Yeah. Yep, yep, absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, it's just again, we're going to talk about we're going to be talking about cybersecurity, but it just shows you how much ignorance it is out there uh, from people with security. You know, um, now
Well, but
why? Mhm.
here's the thing, right? Because I've thought about this and I've looked into it further, right? You say there's this ignorance towards security. Now I'm going to defend the other group here, right? Guys like me and you consciously think about security 24/7, right? In your own house, in the car, in public, you think about security. You think about threats, you think about opportunities, you think of security is just in your mind, right? You've been trained to think that way. Guys and girls, men and women who have never worked in security don't think like me and you. So it is ignorance on their behalf. However, they've not been indoctrinated to think this way. Let's say an accountant or a lawyer or an engineer, right? They've never had exposure to the things we've had exposure to. So why would they think about that? They wouldn't think about things like that. That's why the security industry consciously protects the subconscious mind of those who have not been in the security industry. That's why guys like me and you exist to
Yep,
protect the subconscious mind.
100%. I agree, absolutely. Um, I mean, it's when you said when you said defend them, you don't classify it as ignorance or lack of knowledge, or you saying it's because they haven't
They
what
haven't had the education.
they haven't had education. That's to me that's lack of knowledge. The ignorance doesn't mean you're not intelligent or anything or you're not smart.
No, of course not. No,
You
no.
just don't have the knowledge of it. That's it can go for anybody. It can go for a CEO of a milk industry or company or whatnot. It's just the more you're in tune to it, the better off it is for you and the in your company or industry.
I mean,
Okay.
if you think about it, right? Why why do business owners hire business coaches, right? Because like what I mean by that is like say people who are first business owners, it's the first business they've ever owned. They've tried it for a year and it's not worked out. They're hitting so many problems and they don't know how to solve that problem. Why would you hire a business coach? Because that person knows how to get you out of those problems, right? That's why businesses would hire cybersecurity once they've been cyber attacked, or that's why a company would bring in physical security after somebody's tried to rob them. Is you have to experience the problem before you want the solution. Is very rare. People want the solution before the problem.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with that 100%. Either way, I think that's why we're here. Uh, I think that's why we're here. So takes us to the next question. We're still under physical security. My question I want to ask: do you think people tend to think twice or act civilized when there's a certain level of security presence in their environments. People ask you, why do I need security? Like, why are you guys here standing over there? Why is the camera watching? Like, you know, do you think it actually, do people think twice when they see security presence in any way?
Oh, that's a loaded question. And it's also very subjective because it's country dependent. So, I give an example in the UK, right? For the most part, nobody respects the police, right? For the most part, most people don't respect the police in the UK.
Hmm. Right.
There'll be certain states in the US where that's the exact same, and I'm sure there's locations in Canada where it's the exact same, right? So the risk of that is it becomes the police's presence antagonizes people. So a situation that wasn't there then now becomes a situation. But if we're talking private security, we'll talk about music festivals. Usually there's security officers at a music festival. I mean, I'm sure as part of the SOPs there's got to be security there, right? In that environment, people are there to have a good time. They're there to have a drink and listen to music and hang out with their friends. So I think security presence there doesn't affect people. They don't feel offended. They don't get impacted by it. So I think what I'm trying to say is it depends on the environment.
Mm.
If you
Right.
put CCTV cameras in that music festival, even if you put 100 of them, like on the poles, there's four cameras on each pole and they're watching every angle of the music festival, I don't think people would care. I really don't think they would care, right? However, if you were to stick 100 cameras in a different environment, let's say, oh, let me think. Oh, I can't even think of an example now. Um,
Maybe the airport, for example.
there's a good example. If you stick 100 cameras in the one area of an airport, somebody might look at that and go, "Well, that's a bit excessive. Why do you need 100 cameras in this one area?" However, I'm going to give you a career story actually, because this is
Mm.
it's funny you say the airport. So when I was part of the intelligence community, I used to do physical security pen tests, so physical security penetration tests. So I used to physical security pen test UK airports, UK government buildings, and UK military barracks. Now, I can't go into the full details of this story, but I had to pen test an airport in the UK. I did several of them, like across the duration of my career, but there was one in particular where I identified a security gap and risk that nobody else had picked up. Now, the story and what I picked up, I can't go into details because it's under the Official Secrets Act. However, I went through the process as if I was a customer going to fly to somewhere else nice and sunny that's not the UK because the UK is never sunny. Going somewhere nice, I identified there was a security problem at a checkpoint. I ran through the situation, exposed it, and that exposure changed the whole security posture
Operations.
for the UK. So after that incident, every airport in the UK changed something about their security posture in the airport after I exposed it.
Really? Nice.
Hmm.
Mm.
Now, here's the thing: if I didn't expose that, and somebody successfully managed to do what I did, and they successfully pen tested it, and it was a malicious actor, they could have blew up the airport, they could have blew up an airplane, they could have done all sorts.
Wow.
So if you've got the mindset of this is a bit excessive, just remember I just told you that story that the reason it's excessive is because real risks happen in the real world. Just because you don't consciously think about it or you're not consciously aware of it, don't be ignorant to it because it does happen in the real world. And that's why these security measures are there.
Good point. It's just in fact, and when I mentioned the airport, it actually reminded me of something else too. I think people do take security. seriously, especially at the airport. Um, at the Toronto airport where we're at now, they actually have police officers. They have security guards. They have private security guards with gears and everything. They have the CBSA, and they have the police presence. I think when you step into the airport, actually, 2 months ago, someone got shot at the Toronto Pearson Airport. It was at the arrival, or I think, yeah, it was at the arrival entrance, not inside the airport, but outside the airport. And this was someone that was said to be in distress. I think he drove someone to the airport or whatnot, but he was said to be in distress, and the canine, the canine actually spotted the suspect with a firearm. It wasn't even the police officers. The canine barked or whatnot, and they recognized that as a weapon, and
Mm.
they shot the individual. He died, right? But it just goes to show you, when you read that, you don't, for anybody, you say to yourself, you don't want to mess around at the airport.
Nope.
So it just kind of reminded me of the when I said airport. You're right. I mean, for certain reasons, they don't respect the police. Maybe based on history, what they see on the media, how police are brutal to civilians and whatnot. But I think it depends on how you operate in an environment, and it's how serious you take the operations as the security guard, as the police, or as the whole security department. I think it's on how you take it seriously. You know. But yeah, it happened. It's that was at the Toronto airport, right?
I'll tell you this one story, right? In some aspects, it's quite funny, right? So we've only had one terrorist attack in Scotland at an airport, right? One terrorist attack, I believe, in its whole history. So we had it's because I've said terrorist attack, it shouldn't be funny, but because I know the punchline, it's quite funny, right? So just bear with me, right? There was a car full of terrorists tried to drive a car into an airport in Scotland in Glasgow, and it was strapped with a bomb. However, there was a malfunction, and
Oh my
hit
god!
they hit I think it was like a pole, and instead of it blowing up the car, it didn't blow the guy up, but it went off and set the guy on fire. So the guys jumped out the car on fire, rolling about on the floor, trying to put himself on fire. This Scottish guy came over and started kicking the guy who was on fire, right? Started kicking him when he was on fire.
Oh
The
my
guy who
god!
was kicking him got arrested, right? So we talk about not respecting the police here, right? The guy got arrested and got sent to jail, and he went to court. So this guy was getting charged with assault because he was kicking a guy who was on fire. And the judge said to the guy, "Why did you assault that guy?" And then the terrorist was on fire, right? And he said, "I was trying to put out the fire. I wasn't assaulting him. I was trying to help the guy." But the
Right,
truth was, he knew he was a terrorist, and he was just trying
right.
to beat the guy up. He was
He
prepared
could
to kill him to
he
death.
could have died. He could have died himself.
So that since then,
Right.
nobody's tried to do a terrorist
Right.
attack in Scotland because you get kicked to death if you're on fire.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. Let the security, let the police do their work. Let the folks let the folks assigned to the work do their work. Yes. So I mean, it goes both ways. I think there is it's this there are levels to it. And yes, in some cases, people don't respect security presence in any way, and in some cases, they do. I think it's based on how it's been exercised in that environment. And the last question, or the last highlight, we're gonna talk about the physical security. I always say this when we're advertising or marketing security. I always say this quote. I say to keep an eye watch on your property. It is best to hire those in the business of doing security. Uh, Now, we've had many clients in either supermarkets, nightclubs, um, commercial buildings, condo buildings that they're not officially securities, but they're just individuals, but they're working as security, you know. And sometimes it doesn't look good. Apart from apart from what we talked about, making it mandatory, educating uh, clients, customers, or whoever their clients are too. Sometimes I it affects your company if someone doesn't see some type of, or they don't feel safe in your they don't there's someone watching, because in any, you might not think someone is not watching, but someone is always watching in the community, whatnot. But they're not security. They're not going to act like security, right? They're not going to operate or do the full length of security operations to protect your property, or protect your business or whatnot. So they're always watching. But if people don't see the physicalness, like the presence, the gears, the cameras, or whatnot, it can actually affect your business. So my question is, can physical security, presence or absence, affect a business? Does you having that security, would people actually think, or would it be comfortable coming around your business or working with you in any way, right? Or can you assure them, as if they were to ask, oh no, we do have security. We have our in-house this, or we have this gentleman. He was an ex-police officer, this and that. Can you use that as your security representative? Would that make sense, or you think it's best to just have that, formality of security?
I think in any circumstance, have security. I mean, there's a reason you've got a lock on your front door. There's a reason you've got a lock on your window. Like, you're protecting your property. So if you've got a business, you should be protecting your business, not just externally, internally, not just physical security, cyber security. And again, here's quite
Right.
a harsh truth as well that a lot of people don't like to hear. When it comes to physical security and cyber security, there's no such thing as 100%. There's some providers on the market that advertise, if you take our services, it's 100% guaranteed this will not happen. There is nothing in life that's 100% guarantee except taxes and death. They're the only two things you can guarantee in life. Everything else you can't guarantee it's going to happen, right? So therefore, even if you've got security, even if you've got a SWAT team, even if you've got ex intelligence, ex police officers around your building, the malicious actor or the threat actor is still going to look at how can we penetrate that building. If there's something nice and juicy inside that building that they really need and they really want it, they've just got to plan longer on how they're going to do it.
Right.
So security is nice to have. Like,
Mhm.
it's not just nice to have; it's an essential thing you should have because it puts up, just like your house, it puts a lock on the door that if somebody wants to break in your house, they can still break in, but at least you've got a defence there. You've got a layer of defence there that prevents people just opening the front door. So I think, yeah, security is important for businesses. It's got to be there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I just wanted to ask, when you worked at your physical security, was that with Microsoft, or where did you do some sort of physical security? Where did you practice that?
So my physical security was at the UK intelligence community.
Okay.
So I had quite a diverse skill stack when I did that. So I did cybersecurity. I've already mentioned I did the physical security pen testing. and I specialise in different other things as well. I did elements of physical security at Microsoft and at AWS, Amazon Web Service as well.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, this brings us to cybersecurity, the most interesting part
Mm.
here. Now, I don't know much about cybersecurity, but I remember when I started the business, physical security, and I was talking to investors on LinkedIn, and they said to me, I remember this individual. I think he's from the Middle East, and he said, um, "I only invest in industry. I only invest in stuff that's going to thrive in the future." And he said maybe you should consider cybersecurity.
Mm.
That's what he said to me. He was an investor, and cybersecurity. Just to show you how far it's been it's been in existence. Or no, cyber intelligence, let's say. Just to show you how far. I remember in high school. This was 2000 and between 2004 and 2007. With my group of friends, we were watching this movie Hackers by Angelina Jolie.
Yep.
I had no idea. Have you watched the movie Hackers?
Yeah, yeah.
I had no idea what this. I mean, it was interesting. I saw a little bit of action, but I had no idea what was going on. And it's up till now, it just in the last few years that I started recollecting as to how how the scenes were going, and I'm like, you know, it's been that that this is how what's the word, um, intelligence, or this is how far, this is how people, this has been happening back in the 90s. You know what I mean? But
Mm.
that's cybersecurity. That's how far, if you want to think, you think cybersecurity is just new. It's not new. It's been it's been a thing from time. I don't know, the right words are not coming out, but that's cybersecurity.
Mm.
Now, I mean, just the fact, asking you as an expert, in few words, what is cybersecurity? What can you tell us?
So, how I describe cybersecurity, I've got a few analogies, but the analogy I'm going to use to describe cybersecurity, because again, it comes to the education part, right? Speak the language of somebody who doesn't know speak the language to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. So you said to me, Mike, I don't know much about cybersecurity. Explain it to me, right? So I can't explain cybersecurity with technical jargon. I need to explain it in a way that you'll understand, right? So the way I explain it is it's like a police force, right? We've just talked about the police a moment ago. It's like a police force, right? So I mentioned earlier there's a difference between IT and cybersecurity. IT sets up like the cloud infrastructure of a company, of a business. Cybersecurity defends, or sorry, doesn't, yeah, defends and protects the cloud infrastructure at a company. So you'll have PCs, laptops, network connections, network cables, anything that's bringing digital infrastructure into your company. IT sets that all up. They'll set up the laptops, the emails. They'll set up all the IT stuff that needs to be set up in a company. But they don't specialize in defending it. They just specialize in setting it up. Cybersecurity specializes in protecting that IT infrastructure. So if you look at it as a police analogy, okay, you've got police officers and you've got detectives. Police officers are the equivalent of IT. There's they haven't got a specialized skill set as such. They're just, they're police officers. They're still vitally important to the police force. They just investigate everyday things. Detectives, on the other hand, are a specialized field. You have to go through training. You have to get certificates, qualifications, get trained a specific skill set to solve major crimes like murders and robberies and stuff like that. So, in a police force, you need police officers, you need detectives for it to all to work. For the police force to work, if without one or the other, it doesn't work. They both complement each other. They both have different specialized skills, and that's the best way to explain cybersecurity. Is
Hmm,
different to IT. They both complement each other, and they both need each other.
got you. I think another way, well, for me, the way I understand it quickly, when I say cyber, when I think cyber, I think computer. So anything that has to do with computer, and it's just basically we're securing that computer. As an excellent cybersecurity, when you say cybersecurity, think of it as a computer security. I'm like trying to secure this computer in in the best way possible. But you talking about the differences there. That's dissection of it. I don't know much about that, but I just know as when to let anyone understand it. When you think cyber intelligence, think about computer intelligence and security aspect. You can do the math there. Okay, now I know you mentioned that the numbers we should not. Again, this is from Fortune Business. Uh, we showed the video earlier about when they talked about the projections of security itself, both the physical and the cyber industry, cybersecurity industry. This is another report just to give an idea of what the future of security is. I mean, cybersecurity, future of cybersecurity. The global cybersecurity market is projected to experience a substantial growth, um, reaching 562 562.72 billion by 2032, right? And I think you would know more about this, but the question, uh, the key drivers in the cybersecurity, what key factors are fueling the growth of cybersecurity markets? I think a lot of people talk about the internet penetration, the rising tide of IoT devices, but what's actually driving this growth in cybersecurity, right?
What's driving the growth? Well,
Right. The key factors there, I think. So based on what Fortune Business is saying, I just wanted you to elaborate more on it. It said the increase of internet penetration. What is that? And the rising tide of IoT devices. Apparently, that's what's actually. I think that's what's it's more provided more in terms of services in the cybersecurity. What when does that actually come into formation? When do you need to provide those? What's driving? What's making? Why are you providing those services? Right.
so again, this is also very subjective, and so we've discussed like physical security, the pain points that that experiences. So cybersecurity has its own pain points. So just the other day, I put a post out on LinkedIn. It was a poll asking, "Is in-house cybersecurity or outsourced cybersecurity better for businesses?" Now, my opinion, I think it's better being outsourced than in-house because if you do it in-house as a ticky box exercise, it's a matter of we need to pass the test for our organisation. Like if you've got people internally that don't want to really talk about the faults of their organisation, they will just tick the boxes. I mean, you've done physical security training, right? Where it's outdated, it's boring, it's ticky box exercise. Your mate's going to pass you because they like you. It's the same thing within cybersecurity. It's we need to give you this training. It's outdated. It's not actually that great. We're going to tick the box that you've had the training. It doesn't matter if you've actually learned anything. The feedback I was getting when I put that poll out was it depends on the company size. It depends on their turnover, their annual turnover. It depends on specifically what they're looking for when it comes to cybersecurity. Because there's many different disciplines and services you can offer for cybersecurity. So it's a matter of what that organisation needs.
Right.
Now, if I had to guess, because I've not looked at this report, if I had to guess why that projection's going up as high as it's going, is because from now till 2035, the biggest in demand jobs in cybersecurity is the blue team jobs, the blue teaming roles. So blue teaming is the defensive team. They are the guys who defend the IT. So they will predominantly work in a SOC, which is a security operations center, and those guys will defend the company from cyber attacks. Because the threat is going so extremely high across the world, there's so many cyber attacks that are happening across the world. Just 2 or 3 weeks ago in the UK, we had three major cyber attacks with Marks and Spencers, Harrods, and the Co-op. All experienced major cybersecurity attacks. Now, those are three massive companies in the UK, like massive companies, many
Mm.
people, big turnover. They have in-house cybersecurity teams, and they got cyber attacked. Now they're doing the reports to find out what happened,
Right.
but I'm wondering, is it all in-house, and has there been ticky box exercises conducted because they need to pass a test? At any point, did they bring an outsourced team in to stress test if their security posture, when it comes to cybersecurity, is good, or is it bad, or does it need remediation? We need to wait for that report to come out, but then again, is that report going to be accurate? Who
Mm.
knows? It's one of those ones. So the threats are increasing, and this is from hacking groups and state actors. So the threat from the east, from like Russia, China, North Korea, the budget has to increase because the threat is increasing, is getting bigger, they're getting more sophisticated. You can now use AI to cyber attack people. Um, and not to mention, we've also got quantum computing that's on the horizon for 2035 on based on estimations. So
Gotcha.
that's why I think it's increasing
Yes.
heavily, is because the
Mm.
threat is increasing.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. That takes us to AI. The fact that you just mentioned AI. So apparently, before AI, cybersecurity, there was the all the trick. Can you tell us how AI used to function? I mean, how cybersecurity functioned without AI, and how has AI made things different or enhanced cybersecurity now?
So I'm going to debunk something that you've said that I've heard a lot of people say, right? AI has been around since, do not quote me on this, or anybody in the comment section quote me on this, but I believe since the 60s, 1960s. AI's been around since then. People think that when ChatGPT hit the market, that was the birth of AI, right?
Mm,
It wasn't. AI's been before since ChatGPT, but
you're right.
it almost became market knowledge, and more people got interested and involved in it when ChatGPT hit the market, which was in, what year was that now? When did ChatGPT come on the market? 2021, was it?
I believe it's 2021. I think after the big COVID, we started noticing AI, ChatGPT. That's when I. That's
Okay,
when I.
nobody quote me on that when ChatGPT came
Right.
out, but
Right.
it's very recent, right? And now it's
Right.
like bang, everybody's talking about it. Nobody was talking about AI really before ChatGPT. So that's just the first thing I want to clear out. How has it impacted cybersecurity? Well, AI is obviously able to function tasks, react quicker than a human, right? We can all accept that. So if you're implementing the correct prompts and you are creating an open AI with the machine, if you're creating an open AI, right? For example, you could create your own open AI. You could call it ChatGPT 6.2, and you can train it with the machine learning to the prompts to
Right.
send out phishing emails and stuff like that, right? You can design it all, package it, and ask it to start pinging out emails to people with phishing links where people will click on it, and it can create malware and viruses on people's computers, or people then can get access to the infrastructure at a company and cyber attack it.
Yeah, basically your email is sorry. Sorry, yeah, I was gonna say basically your email is AI powered. Basically, it works on
Yeah,
its own.
this is it. So before,
Hmm.
people were having to manually attack people virtually, through online networks manually. Now people can create their own machine learning open AI platforms to do it for them. So they don't even need to be present. They can go and make themselves a cup of tea or a coffee, go and take their kids to the park or whatever it may be. Let that run in the background, come back and see who's clicked on it and see where you've got access.
You see, actually, I didn't know that. I knew that was possible, but I was actually gonna ask you that question in regard for physical security, IP based. I was gonna say that IP based cameras or AI powered based cameras. What if
Mm.
someone, what if someone, just like you, I didn't actually know hackers are actually now they don't operate manually. They're using AI. What if they just they design an AI? Um, I think it goes for both data cybersecurity. So it's actually happening. I didn't know that. I was gonna bring that up. So what if we say AI is it's the next future? So you're saying that hackers now or criminal cyber criminals use AI? Is that what you're saying?
So, not every time. Some, just for the record, some will still do the whole manual thing and they'll still try and manually hack into people, but they have got the option to use OpenAI to do all the, we'll call it the heavy lifting, do all the heavy lifting for them. And they can then just come to the party when people are falling for the trap. Referring to your physical security thing, that's a really good point. Yes, in theory, even now, and think of the capabilities in 5, 10 years' time, yes, hackers. But then if you think about it, hackers are able to hack into CCTV cameras with no AI.
Right.
Hackers can hack into CCTV cameras and take control and monitor the inside of a building. That's been happening for decades now, right? So, in theory, with AI, yes, people will be able to hack into AI detecting cameras and could do
So
all
physical
sorts of it.
security. So when you say there's not going to be the presence of individuals, do
Yeah.
you? I mean, what do you say now? The fact that it's because AI has been now you have the bad AI, you have the good AI.
Yep.
The bad so you don't think there still need to be some kind of physical presence,
Yes, in some aspects, like you'll still need like engineers who can. It's almost be like the coach to the AI. So if you think of it like in a sport, you've got like a soccer team or a football team, and you've got the coach who coaches the team.
exactly.
What what's going to
It had
happen now is you have
this.
people that will
Yeah,
coach AI. That's what you're going to have now. You're going to have coaches who coach
yeah, it's
AI.
exactly. So there still has to
Yes.
be some presence. There has to still be some. I know. I hear it. No, that's interesting. I didn't know. In fact, I was going to ask that question. I said, what if we now have a counterfeit of in a AI? What if the AI, someone can hack into the AI IP based camera and you know, gives that person access or whatnot. I don't know. I don't know if that's possible, but that's just a
Well,
scenario. That's you know. So, anyways, good point. Good point. So, cybersecurity and cybersecurity then, cybersecurity now, AI powered cybersecurity. So, how's that working out?
well, I've mentioned the other about quantum computing. So I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast that had Mark Zuckerberg on it. I think it was the start of this year, And Joe Rogan asked Mark Zuckerberg when does he think quantum computing will be available for people in the market, and he's projected 2035 is when it will be available. Now we're talking over there about the risks of malicious and threat actors for physical security and now for cyber security. Now with quantum computing, what's going to be available, what quantum computing is going to be able to do. So think of AI that we've got at the moment. This is going to be so much quicker, so much better, and do so much good things, including so much more damage. So from a cybersecurity perspective, you've got people who are trying to battle against these threats that are coming into the SOC. Quantum computing will be able to help these individuals react to things quicker. They'll be able to detect and react to it quicker. Now, quantum computing will be able to do it quicker than a team of 12 people, right? So it's almost like in one hand you really need those 12 people. However, on the flip side, when there's good, there's evil. Evil people are going to use quantum computing to their advantage to try and hack into systems for businesses, organisations, a lot quicker than what they're doing it now. So again, that's this AI cyber attacks that we just talked about earlier. You've now got this with quantum computing. People will be able to use that a lot quicker than what they're doing it right now.
So then we have to create that. Then I guess what happens after that? They have to create something better. That is it's an endless.
Yeah, it really is.
That's what it is. Yes, 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 yes. Now, I forgot. I was gonna bring up something here. Have you played it? Do you play the game Watch Dogs, or have you heard of Watch Dogs?
I've heard of it and I've played it a couple of times, but it was a long time ago, so I have no real recollection of the game.
Man, I think because I playing that game just gives you an insight of the future of cyber or the future itself. People do stuff almost without being present.
Mm.
So yes, anything. If it's a matter of getting a car, actually, there was actually a documentary how your car can actually be hacked. The future cars now they can be hacked. I can hack a car from Toronto, in Saudi Arabia, and I can make it
Yeah.
drive to wherever. You know what I mean? So or make it do whatever. But so basically there's the good AI and there's the bad AI, pretty much. And the good AI is
Yep.
working for the main characters. No, the bad AI is the government AI, right? And
Right.
the right and the this rebels are using their AI to to fight the bad the government AI. So and it gave me a bit of understanding of what's how this thing actually worked. This side when you hear of cyber attack or this industry was hacked or was helping what's that word um, ransom, cyber ransom, all that stuff. This how it works. There are actually folks out there that are changing their level of criminalities, and it's all cyber, just computer based.
Yeah, it's
So I
interesting to
think I
see
think it's an
about.
endless battle, good and bad.
Yeah, it's interesting to see about the hacking cars. Again, don't quote me on this, but I'm sure it was Jeep, the car manufacturer Jeep. They
I'm
had
not
that
sure.
problem where people were able to hack the Jeep cars. So
Really.
somebody successfully managed to hack into the cars and take control of the vehicle.
Hmm.
I'm sure it was Jeep, but don't quote me on it. It might be a different
Yeah.
car manufacturer, but somebody from a remote location took control of a car.
Yes,
So
yes, 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 yes. So yes, so just going back to what we were talking about there. So AI. So AI has made a big difference, pretty much, in cybersecurity, right? And do is it working in the industry? Do clients see this as a big as a is it making a difference?
So again, it comes down to this good versus evil, right? This good versus bad. So those that I'm speaking to who've got cybersecurity companies, I can only relay back what they're telling me. So this is their information. So like many businesses out there, they're using AI to do a lot of the heavy lifting. You know, the tasks, the admin work, the because you can also have AI agents as well who can do tasks for you like sales. They can book sales calls for you. Um, they can do some of your marketing for you. So a lot of businesses are reaping in the benefits of AI doing a lot of the tasks that they don't want to do, a lot of the heavy lifting.
Excuse
And
me.
I've got I actually know a business owner in Canada who has created an AI company for cybersecurity. So this person's business is for SOC analysts, so security operations center analysts, or also known as security analysts. So SOC analysts are effectively the last line of defense. If a cyber attack is going to happen, they're the last line of defense. Like this, if they can penetrate past the SOC, someone's going to go horribly wrong, right? So they're looking at if you worked in like an a SOC like for physical security, like and you look at the systems and you've got like for example the alarms, like the alarm stack that comes up on systems for the computer.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So think of something like that, right? And when you're doing physical security and the alarms are triggering, they come in through the stack, right? Same thing for cybersecurity for a SOC analyst is when something potentially is going to happen, or a lot of them are false alarms, but you still have to check them anyway. They'll come through the stack, and you've got to go through the stack as the individual and assess and triage those alerts. Okay? The business owner I know in Canada has created an AI that instead of the human having to go through that stack, AI does it for them. So it goes
Hmm.
through the security alerts,
Hmm.
does the whole triage, tests to see if it's a real threat or it's not, and then it creates a report. Now this business owner worked in cybersecurity, so this person created their own AI machine learning and trained it all the prompts based on this person's knowledge in cybersecurity. That person saw a gap where, well, hold on a minute, this individual doesn't have to physically go through this anymore. Why don't I just create an AI that does it for that person? So for some companies and for some individuals, there's two sides to this. One side is it saves time, saves effort. The flip side is, do you now need a SOC analyst now? Because that's the real reason of their job. Does
Hmm.
AI replace that person? So when this business owner was giving me the demonstration of their product, I said, I don't think it needs to replace the individual. What it could do instead is give that individual new roles and responsibilities. So their job no longer is to go through that stack, it's something else. So this AI has solved the problem and it's given somebody else a different roles and responsibilities. But it
Right.
depends how you
Right.
want to
Right.
look at
Right.
it.
Hmm. Okay, I see. I see. So it does actually make a change in different forms, not just based on the performance, but when it comes to the business itself. Paying staffs and whatnot.
But then again, you've always got to remember when there's good, there's evil. So somebody's creating this great product, somebody will find a way to use that against somebody.
Yes, 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 yes. Last but not the least, with cybersecurity, um, what can you tell us the main services? What are the main type of services that are out there A client calls, or most of the clients, what are the main, what services do they offer most, and why?
What services do most cybersecurity companies offer? Is that what you mean?
Cybersecurity. Yes, 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 yes.
So I might be completely wrong on this one, but certainly from somebody who's really well connected in the cybersecurity world and looking at all the different businesses that are on the market, I see predominantly cybersecurity companies that specialize in blue teaming, so it's more on the defensive side of cybersecurity. So their services is to help organizations defend their IT infrastructure. But a lot of them also have a complementary service where it's we're not just going to give you the solution. We need to identify where's the problems. Um, so they'll come in, assess the problems, and give a solution. And then once they've patched the solution, then they can offer the services to protect what they're offering, like what they're offering to protect the infrastructure. Um, and there's another thing as well. A lot of people think when it comes to security and physical security, once you've got it, you're fine. Like this is the solution that will solve the problem for the next 10 years. No, threats constantly evolve by the hour, not even by the day, by the hour. Threats evolve. So just because you've got physical security or cyber security doesn't mean you're fine. Like if something new
Right,
comes on the market, lean into it because the new
right.
thing is a good thing. Like don't stay back in the old days. Like move with the times here, okay?
And that's how you know. Yes, absolutely. Sorry. That's how you recognize a good security company, both
Yeah.
physical and cyber. You just clients might think they just want the money, but that's it, you just need to be you need to keep up with the changes, and be able to educate your clients. They might not thank you now, but they will thank you later.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, a lot majority of companies I see they offer the defensive solutions, but they also offer the compliance side as well, which falls under GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. There's a lot of companies on the market that offer that, so that's to be do more with like the documentation. So, say for example, a company's got cybersecurity insurance. If something was to go wrong, they can be covered by the insurance provider. Before you can get insurance, you need to fill out a questionnaire and survey that if something was to happen, you will be covered for this. But again, it falls back on what I was saying earlier, where a lot of people aren't security savvy, they don't think security, so they think they've got something that they haven't actually got. So what GRC compliance companies do is they check to see if you're actually compliant with your cybersecurity insurance policy.
Mm.
And if you were to bring somebody on your podcast who works in GRC, they'll give you the live data and stats to tell you how many of those clients that they've saw have actually been compliant or they've actually breached their
Hmm.
cybersecurity insurance policy. I've not got the stats on that to give an assessment, but it's high.
Hmm. I see. I see. Uh, I'm gonna ask you about Star Apex. We're gonna talk about Star Apex a little,
Mhm.
but before that, um, as a cybersecurity company, I actually watched this video, but I can't remember what the company name is. But they were able to convince uh, a number of companies by hacking into their system first, and show them the breaches, show them how they were able to hack, and show them how how they can prevent this from happening in the future.
Mm.
Is this a good strategy?
Yeah, so what you're talking about is called red teaming, so they're the offensive
Hmm.
team. So in red teaming, you've got ethical hackers, and what they'll do is they will ethically hack in. So they will do what the bad guy would do when they try and cyber attack you. They do it ethically. So they'll go through your systems to see where your weak points are. They can create like back doors so they can keep constantly coming back in and out and check the systems. Um, so there is cybersecurity companies that offer the red teaming side of things. I don't see many of them, but there
Mm,
are ones there. Should you do it? Again, this falls back onto the in-house versus out-house cybersecurity. What one's better? If you did it randomly, let's just say you found a company, did it randomly, and then you sent them a report via email and just said, "Hey, just to let you know, that cyber attack you just had, that was us. Like we're this company, and this is what we found." That company got attacked. It is highly likely they're not going to appreciate what you've just done. However, it's the most organic way of doing it because I'm showing you before I show up into your life. I'm showing you what I've just done. It's the most organic way of doing it.
mm,
However, the other way you can do it is, hey, can I hack your systems?
right,
And I'll show you your problems. A lot of companies don't want to hear the problems. They don't want to know. So they'll go,
right.
no, you can't hack our systems. And it's like, well, how are you going to know what your problems are? I need to show you the solution. So there's that balanced argument. It's like
Mm,
one of it's
right.
ethical and one of it's not. So
Mhm.
it depends.
Okay. It has to be ethical, I guess. Gotcha.
Absolutely. I
Gotcha.
mean, it's the same with physical security, right? So if you're going to do a
Mhm.
physical security pen test, right? So let's say, for example, you've got a client and you're offering your client security officers, and let's say, I don't know, it's a logistics company. Okay, it's a logistics business in Toronto. You've got security officers on it, right? How do you know your security officers are good at what they do? How can you organically test that they're good at
Mhm.
what they do, that they follow the SOPs, that they follow the T's and C's? How can you organically check that? Because you, as the boss, if you show up, they're going to
Right.
play the game. They're going to go, "Oh, Kareem showed up. Yeah, yes sir, no sir, and this is like blah 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 blah." It's not organic. Whereas
Mhm.
if I show up, then it's going to be
Right.
more organic because can I penetrate your security officers and can I get into the building, steal documents, and get back out again?
Yep. Yep.
And then you, as the security business owner, let's just say, right, you are providing the security for your logistics client. I get onto the compound, I get into the building, I get into a red zone area, steal documents, steal USBs, the whole lot, get out the building, get out the compound, and I send you an email and say, Kareem, just to let you know, mate, I've just done all of this. How would you take it?
Oh yeah. Not pretty.
But it's the most organic way because I've just shown you without me telling you that I've been able to do this.
Hmm. Right. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, Star Apex.
Mm. Yep.
How did you? I mean, when I read about the Kingsman and I looked at your profile, I said the Ministry of Defense. I said, why
Mm.
would you? That's a big position. And you, I mean, you left. You left the government, worked for Amazon or who, I don't know, Microsoft or which one you worked first. But I said, and now you decided to start a company, right?
Mm.
Uh, that must, I mean, what triggered that, and it was it actually worth it? You know, when you because some folks say, I'll just rather stick to my contracts, the contract, get the money, and I can't worry. I'll worry less about doing any kind of business or focusing on any kind of business. But what brought about Star Apex?
Okay, so yeah, I started my own business. I incorporated the business in February 2024. So Star Apex is a recruitment company. So some people when they hear that they're going to go, "Oh no, this guy does recruitment. Like he's a recruiter. I don't want to speak to him." Which is fine. You can't get the full market. You're not going to please the full
Who's
market,
saying
right?
that? Individual or
Oh,
companies?
every day, Kareem. Every day,
Really?
people will just see recruiter and they don't want to talk to me, and that's why. you talked earlier about judging a book by its cover. That's why I I released that post, because we've been speaking now for just under 2 hours, and I've just talked about all things security because it's my background. So people just think I'm just a recruiter like everybody else. I haven't actually had a career before recruitment. So we'll get on to that story. So October 2023, I was at AWS and I received 3 separate phone calls from 3 separate recruitment agencies. And I spoke to 3 separate recruiters. They were all looking for TS cleared, and if it's in the UK, it's enhanced DV, just in case there's anybody in the UK listening. TS cleared cybersecurity project managers. So I'm also a qualified project manager. The contracts that were getting offered to me were £200,000 in the UK. I'm not sure what that converts into Canadian dollars, but I imagine it's a lot of money.
That's a lot of figures.
It's a lot of figures. So I was getting offered £200,000 to be a contractor for the UK government. So effectively going back into my old employers and doing contracting for them. So, received these 3 phone calls from these 3 recruiters. The first one was from, at first, a really lovely female. She had a really great charisma. We were getting on well. And she tried to convince me that a secret clearance was higher than a TS clearance. Now again, for in the UK, if you're listening, she tried to convince me that an enhanced SC, which is an enhanced security check clearance, was higher than an enhanced DV, which is an enhanced developed vetting clearance. And you know when somebody says something to you that you know just isn't right? You know, it would be like, right, you know what it'd be like, Kareem, right? You know when somebody said to you the sky is green, right? Your whole life you've known it's been blue, right? As somebody said it to you, you would stop for a minute and think, no, it's blue. Like, I've always known it being blue. It's not green. So I had this moment and I thought, that's not right. So I said to her, I said, hey, just to let you know, a TS is higher than a secret clearance. And she went, no, 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 no. I've been doing security clearance recruitment for 2 years. Like, no. And I thought, because I'm a big advocate for education, I'll try and educate this recruiter and say, hey, you've got this all wrong. Like, I'll explain, I even went in great detail explain what the difference between the two, like even the process to get both, what the difference is, was having absolutely none of it. And I went, you know what, I'm not interested in this job anymore. So I hung up the phone. I thought, this is bad service, right? So bear in mind, I've just chucked away a £200,000 a year contract. Second phone call comes through. Now that I'm part of the recruitment industry, I think what was happening in this situation, just as I've put a wee injection in here, I think they were all these recruitment companies were competing against each other for the one contract. This is what it comes across to us, right? The second recruiter tried to convince me that the National Cyber Security Centre that's in London stood for the National Cabinet Security Centre. Now again, in my mind, I'm thinking, that's not right. I need to educate this recruiter. So I did it. I said, just to let you know, it's the National Cyber Security Centre. Again, there seems to be this 2-year mark thing. I don't know what it is. But the guy said to me, I've been doing cybersecurity recruitment for 2 years. Like, I think I should know what it's called. And I went, with all due respect, I used to work in that building, so I think I should know what it's called. I thought, what is going on with these recruiters? So I hung up the phone.
Wow.
The third recruiter comes through. And Kareem, I swear to God, to the day I die, I'll never forget these words. The person said to me, I've just received this job spec this morning. I know nothing about the job. Are you interested? So I hung up the phone. I remember coming off these calls and I was speaking to my wife. And I said, you're never going to believe these conversations I've had today. So I told her the full story. And she was like, nah, I don't believe you. And I'm like, I swear to God, this is the conversations I've just had. Now, you've experienced bad customer service. I've experienced bad customer service, whether it's a supermarket, an airline, whatever it may be. doesn't necessarily mean you're going to start up an airline or a supermarket. You just experience it and you walk away. This experience had such a lasting impact on me for days. I could not stop thinking about this experience.
Mm.
And I thought, is this what the recruitment industry is like? So I started
Right.
speaking to people from the intelligence community, like candidates, and asked them what their experience was like. And they told me what their experience, which was similar to mine. Oh, thank God I'm not the only one who's had bad customer service. That's a good start. This is pretty normal.
This is normal. Wow.
This is normal. And I had this light bulb moment
Hmm.
where I thought, I wonder if I could set up my own recruitment company, specialising in what I've done in my career. So the industries and sectors that I've served, I could specialise in them. So then I started speaking to business owners, specifically cybersecurity business owners. I was like, have you ever worked with a recruiter before? And they're like, yes. And they have this horrified look in their face. And I was like, what's been your experience? And they tell me the bad experiences they've had with recruiters. They don't know what they're talking about. None of them have worked in cybersecurity. I don't like their business models, etc. And I say to them, let's just say, for example, somebody came to you who's worked in cybersecurity and was going to help you with your hiring. Would you work with them? And they're like, 50% I'm there, but it also depends on the business model. And I went, what do you mean? So bear in mind, my education has not come from the recruitment industry. I know nothing about this industry at all. I'm just doing my research at this point. And I said, okay, if you were to start a recruitment company tomorrow, what would you do? And they went for the business model, what they would do. So for example, fixed cost instead of percentages. So recruitment companies all over the West as percentages, as the percentage of the first annual salary of the candidate. That's what they'll charge. So it will range between 20 to 30% they'll charge up the annual salary.
Business
They went,
module. Okay.
I would rather fixed cost. So every hire is the exact same cost. I know exactly how much it's going to cost. Now I thought from my project management background, absolutely. That makes sense. Like when you're budgeting for a project, you like to know exactly how much things are going to cost. There's nothing worse than a variable cost because you can't budget for it. I went, okay, what else would you like? And he says, well, a lot of them say they're going to deliver and they never deliver. And they'll say they'll do it in 7 days and then, 16 days later, nothing. Or they'll say, we couldn't find what you were looking for, so we can't help you. I went, okay. And basically what they were saying is none of them take account for their actions.
Yeah.
So I studied the recruitment industry for 5 months, from the October to the February before I incorporated my business. I wanted to understand the recruitment industry, what's the pain points, what's going wrong, get my market research done. So again, tapping into my intelligence experience, my background, bring all the data together, make an assessment. And I thought, I've got a viable product here. I can specialise in what I've worked in, cybersecurity and IT. I've managed AI machine learning projects. I've worked in data centres. I've been security cleared. I'm a project manager. I've worked in physical security. So I could specialise in any one of those industries because I've done it. I've been there. I've done it. I've served my apprenticeship. I've got the qualifications to speak and know what I'm talking about. Then I introduced my business model, which is I promise the client I'm working with or partnering with that I'll find exactly what you're looking for within 14 days. If I don't do it within 14 days, it's a money back guarantee plus compensation. So I will pay a company $1,000 if I don't deliver what I said I was going to deliver. So they have got 0% risk at this point. It's
Right.
money back guarantee, and I'm paying name
Right.
if I get it wrong. The other thing I offer is it's fixed cost. So whether it's a contractor or a permanent hire, I don't care if it's an entry or a senior, it's the exact same fixed cost. Companies love it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I offer is a 6-month and a 12-month assurance policy. That if the candidate exits that business in either 6 months or 12 months, they got a candidate completely free to replace that one that just exited. And then that's how I created my business, specializing in what I've done and creating a disruptive business model. So that's how Star Apex came along.
Wow. And I remember you told me, you said you're the only, when you said it, I had to understand what you meant. I said, what do you mean you're the only one in the world that's
Hmm.
operating this way? So when I read, everything you said and how Star Apex actually came about, I said, could that be so? Because, like I said, with cybersecurity, there's so much gap. Actually, that's what we wanted to talk about. Lastly, the gap between everyday people and the cyber world,
Hmm.
cybersecurity world. There's so much gap. I mean, this is not just an everyday individual. This is someone that was working in the
Hmm.
cybersecurity field, and is recruiting staffs and has just little or doesn't even know what they're doing at all. So that just shows you the gap, right? So it's I think it's a matter of time. Um, I don't know what the future projects or uh, what the future is going to be like in regards to this, but there needs to be more uh, individuals like you that has passion for the industry and actually make it, what's the word, um, get it more recognized and to be knowledgeable about it, to actually sound like somebody know exactly what they're doing. Uh, so I'm glad Star Apex came about, and and how's that been? How has that been right so far with recruitment?
Yeah, so just to add on the points you made there, so yeah, my claim to fame is, I believe, and nobody's been able to correct me on this, that I'm the only person in the world who has my background in the recruitment industry and has this business model. As far as I'm aware, put the two of them together, there's not another person that exists in the world like myself. Um, which is a great accolade to have. Like, it's because if you think about my whole life story, I've had to almost be an individual at every stage of my life. I've had to be my own person. So I'm
Taking
not a
initiatives.
yeah.
True.
So I'm not afraid
Mm,
to. I'm not a
right.
follow the sheep person. I'm my own individual person. I won't follow the herd. I make my own decisions.
You got
So
it.
being in this domain as the only person, I don't mind that. Like, it's great. But you made a great point. I believe this is my philosophy when it comes to recruitment. If you're going to do recruitment, you should have the industry work experience to the industries that you specialise within. So I would
Absolutely.
welcome more people to join the recruitment industry who have actually got the industry work experience to what they specialise in, because it creates a more positive experience for the candidate. If you look at my story, I was the candidate and I've got people tell me that I'm wrong and I'm the guy who's worked in the industry. Like, how can I be wrong? This doesn't make sense. And the person who's saying that I'm wrong is a person who's never worked a day in their life in it. So how? So therefore, it creates a better experience for the candidate. It also creates a better experience for clients because they don't have to spend an hour explaining cybersecurity to me. I've already worked in it. They just need to tell me what person they need. They just need to send me a job spec, and I can do
Mhm.
what I do best to find people. So, how has it been? How can I explain it? Mixed emotions, I would say. Because if you think of earlier when I said I have a lot of people that just think I'm a recruiter, right? They
Right.
just think I'm a So there's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of resistance. But thankfully, I've met really pleasant, nice people in the world who don't judge a book by its cover, and it's like, I want to know who you are. I have, and I this is 100% on this one, right? I have never come off a call with somebody once I've told them my background and they haven't wanted to do business with me. Every single person who just came on a call with me, they found out my background to find out why I'm different to other recruiters and my business model. 100% of them have wanted to work with me. 100%. They might not want recruitment now, but they'll say, we're going to be hiring 4, 5, 6 months' time. You're the person I'm coming to.
You know,
100% of the time. So if more people stop judging a book by its cover,
right.
here's the thing, I'm not ignorant to this. I appreciate people have had bad experiences with recruiters in the past. I fully appreciate this has happened. It only came on my radar in October 2023, right? I appreciate people have had bad experiences.
Hmm.
Just have a conversation with me. If this podcast is nothing to go by, just jump in a conversation with me for 15, 20 minutes and I'll show you how I can help your hiring efforts so much better than what you're doing right now.
And I think what you're saying, it's actually, I think that's what it is. And um, I haven't looked much. I don't know anyone or any recruiting agency that has much of this background that you specify on. So kudos to you, man. Uh, kudos to you. That's great story, man. You've got, and your passion. Did you ever thought about doing? How did you get it? What was it through the intelligence? Uh, when you did this test with the ministry, or how did you get into cybersecurity? How did you get into security?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So once I got into the MOD,
Hmm.
what happened was when you go through these. So this is another thing that's really worth pointing out here. If you want to join if you want to join the cybersecurity world and do cybersecurity for a private company, you're going to have a very different experience to what I had, because when you do it through a private company, they expect you to come in with the certifications, the qualifications, the work experience, etc., etc. Because I did it through the government, they do things properly, in my opinion, that the private sector fails to do. I come in as a guy who's never done cybersecurity in my life, right? Never
Right.
done it in my life. They trained me to be able to do cybersecurity unsupervised to the level where I'm protecting the national security of the United Kingdom, right? They put me through the training. I'm mentored by somebody who's a veteran in the game to protect the national security of the United Kingdom, right? So how I got to that point is based on my test scores. Then you had to do
Right.
you had to do technical exams. When I got the results back, they said that I had a very good problem solving mind. So I'm able to look outside the box. I'm able to think outside the box. I'm able to see patterns that other people don't see. So they went, you would be great in cybersecurity. You would be
Oh.
great. Yeah, you would be great going into the blue
Mm,
team. So that's how I got into cybersecurity, was purely because
wow.
people gave me the opportunity to go into it. Whereas people that are trying to do it for the private world, they're going to have a very, very, very different experience. Very different experience. And to be
Wow.
very controversial, I'm going to be very controversial here. I would advise anybody who wants to join
Mm,
cybersecurity to do it
mm.
either through the government or the military.
I see.
Don't, don't do it for the private world. That's controversial. Not everybody will agree with me on that.
Well, I can
But
imagine.
here's a
I
but
can
here's
imagine.
a question, right? How many people go from military and government to the private sector, and how many people go from private sector to the
To the
government or
military.
military? Look at that ratio. So once you leave the organizations like the government or the military, how many percent go into the private sector and they get a great salary? Why do you get a good salary? So, how do you get a good salary when you go in the private sector? You think about it, right? I've got recruiters calling me, offering me £200,000 contracts to be a contractor. How did I get offered that contract? It's because of my experience that I got through the government.
There you go. Yeah, I
Not
see.
everybody's
I
going to
see.
agree with that opinion, but that's just my opinion. If you really, really want to get into cybersecurity, do it for the military or
Mm,
the government because they'll put you through everything. Everything. They'll put you through it all. And then once you leave, you've got the transferable skills to join the private sector, and you can command
Right.
a bigger salary.
Good for you. Look at that, man. I mean, that's a very interesting. Very thanks to your friend.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
mean, imagine if he never told you, you would still be. Who
probably
knows
got a
what you'd
job
be
at
doing?
BT.
Wow, what an interesting
Yeah,
story, man. Love it,
yeah,
love it. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, I think that's pretty much. I mean, we've had over 2 hours now, and I think it's
yeah,
been a good uh, conversation. Great podcast. Um, thank you, thank you. We're going to conclude now. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Michael McQuaid. Your time has been very much appreciated. We hope the viewers, we hope you found this discussion very useful, very informative, and engaging. Remember to tune in next time and for more interesting topics and discussions. Thank you. Thank you.